Hello and welcome into another episode of Real Toolbox Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing the Milwaukee Tool Detail Sander. This is actually a random Orbital sander that I picked up about 6 months ago. Paid for this tool with my own money, and I've had it in the field now for about 6 months. Let's get after it. It's time for another Real Toolbox Review. Hello and welcome back in. And first off, I want to salute each and every member of RTR Nation. That's those of you who have hit the subscribe button. I appreciate that beyond words as we try to grow this channel. Today we're reviewing the Milwaukee Tool Orbital sander, and this is a detail sander. It runs on their M12 platform. I want to start off with kind of an overview of what a detail sander is, because a lot of people probably have questions. What's the difference between an orbital sander and this one, a detail sander? Well, a detail sander generally is not a circular shape. So if you think about things like drawers or anything where there's a 90-degree angle, if you want to get that entire area sanded, you can't get in there with a typical orbital sander because it's a circle. Obviously it wouldn't fit. So when you have things like this that have an odd shape or a pointed shape as this one does, you can get into areas that you can't get into with just a random orbital sander that you can pick up from any major tool brand in any big box store. This tool came out about a year ago. They had it at one of their pipeline events. When I saw it, I was instantly interested in it, and the reason is because I previously had a Makita that had basically a square shape. I've actually killed 2 of those. So I was basically looking for something new, and the only other options were really offered by Festool and also another company called Surf Prep, and both of those brands are extremely expensive. But this has a basically home plate shaped head. The head in total measures around 3.5 inches tall and about 2.5 inches wide. It does operate using a random orbit that is about 1.5 millimeters. So it rotates 1.5 millimeters side by side, and that's how it creates the sanding effect. So this has its own unique shaped sanding paper. So you do have to purchase that from Milwaukee Tool through Home Depot, Acme Tools, wherever you get that from. I haven't really seen it in stores around here in Milwaukee, but I have been able to purchase it online. The other very strange thing, or unique thing I should say about this, is that it does have a sanding interface pad. So as you can see here, it's very dusty, obviously it's been used. This is the primary sanding pad. What you actually have to do is put on a secondary pad in order to protect the sanding pad, and then you put on your sandpaper on top of that. So that's basically the basics of it. When they previously released this, they actually didn't send this interface pad with the original products. Mine did not come with this. However, it did come with the sandpaper that I ordered. And you do have to use this to protect the sanding pad. Otherwise, as you can see here at the tip, and I'll have a close-up shot, it does melt the sanding pad along the edges, specifically when you're in there. And just to go through the basic features of it, this sander has 4 modes, and what Milwaukee Tool says is they reference a 4 to 14K. Obviously mode 1 would be 4K, and obviously 14K would be mode 4. And you are able to, while you're using it, change the mode, as I'll show here. So that is a huge plus for me. There's an LED light on the top that actually does a pretty good job of illuminating your workpiece. There is a lock button as well on the side here, so when you turn it on, it'll stay locked so you can just keep going and going forever. Battery base here is pretty hard to get in and out, but again, it's on the M12 platform. We exclusively use it with this 6 amp hour battery. The trigger pull is variable, so if you start out in a kind of a slow motion, you can rivet up to eventually a higher mode. All in all, this thing is about 11.5 inches tall from the sanding tip of the sanding pad to the base of the battery, and I believe about 4.5 inches wide is what we measured it. All right, so to test this tool, we basically, when I thought about it, you can't really test sanding quality because that's dictated by the pads. So we actually just did runtime, and the best way I could think to do it was to actually use this on mode 4 with a 6 amp hour battery and just see how long did it run. My experience has been in the field, it tends to last about an hour, and that's about what we got. So we did it on 3 different tests. We ran it full strength, sanding just a 2x4. In total, as you can see here in the chart, we got measurements of 51 minutes, 52 minutes, and then 48 minutes. So generally you're gonna get, if you're just running it continuously, about 1 hour of runtime on a 6 amp hour battery, which is more than enough time to refresh that battery on a charger, as long as it's one of the superchargers. Moving into hate, love, and all the above next. First off, I want to start off with hate. And the thing that I don't like about this at all is that there is no way or good way as of right now to collect dust with this. Now, this does come with a little bit of an asterisk because obviously you're not going to be sanding a huge wide piece of workpiece. But even still, it kicks dust absolutely everywhere. As you saw, I tried to clean this as best I could, and it still had dust in it. But it is fairly easy to clean, but these little holes here on the side, that's where the dust kind of accumulates and kicks out. So what we usually do is we've run this, and then I've had my dust collector with a head, and I clean up whatever I'm sanding using it. The other thing I really don't like is the sanding pads. Now, I just recently saw on Instagram, you can get roll sandpaper and actually form sandpaper around this, which is cheaper than buying these pads. These pads are fairly pricey, and I'll just kind of put the prices up here on the screen. I believe it was around $15 for like a 12 pack. The grits run, I mean, it's typical sandpaper. It runs from, I think, 80 all the way to 400. But still, it's individual to this product, and that's the only sanding pad right now, so you're basically waiting on a third party to eventually start making that sandpaper. The next thing I really don't like is this interface pad. I have a multitude of sanders. I've never heard of a protective pad for your sanding pad. From my understanding, the sanding pad is supposed to protect the sander. But what happened is here on the tip, and I'll show kind of a blown up version, my wife was actually using it and she melted it. Because the pad at the tip had begun to wear down. Then another thing too is they only send one of these out per pack of sandpaper. So if you buy the huge, I think it's like an 80-piece pack, you're only getting one of these interface pads or sanding pads or protective pads, whatever they call them. And that thing can wear out over time because you're gonna spend a majority of your life with this product using this little tip to get into all sorts of areas. And again, that can create some problems. But yeah, it does melt it, but you just have to replace it. It hasn't affected the product all that bad. I wouldn't say it's been deterred or had any decrease in sanding quality. All right, next, all the above. Really the only thing that I would just kind of put as average is the size of this. It's fairly abnormally sized. It's just about as tall or taller than most drills. We usually start obviously with the battery out, and I've just thrown it in a pack out ammo box. And it's just kind of an odd shaped thing. I do have some exciting stuff coming up with this specific product from a 3D printer that will actually have a storage place for this, but that's how odd the size is that I've had to purchase a custom piece of 3D printed organizational stuff to actually fit this. All right, next, love. What did I absolutely love about this product? Obviously, this is a $150 detail sander. The Festool detail sanders usually run around $300 to $500 depending on which one you pick, and then you have to buy their sandpaper as well, but due to the shape of the head. This was $150 bare. I have a ton of M12 batteries, so this just fit perfectly. I do think I mentioned the size is kind of all the above. I do like how compact it is, and I absolutely love the ergonomics of this as well. This has a good grip. I don't know if you had oversized hands, this might get a little small, it might feel a little small, but just the ability to get this thing to flow. This also has great action. 1.5 millimeters is pretty typical for a side to side, and it can really take off a lot of product. I used it to sand off a damaged piece of siding to get it to level out just recently, and this thing's a beast on mode 4. So it has really, really, really good power, and really when you look at it and you think, $150 for what you get, it's pretty good. So moving into just kind of my final thoughts, and I'll start off with Pro or Joe. I think this is kind of a tool for everybody. You know, the M12 line is expanding, and if you do, even if you're doing craft work, DIY stuff, this is an awesome sander to have in addition to a random orbital sander. I think every household should have a classic 5-inch random orbital sander. This is a good thing to add in as well because it can help you get into details. If you're doing just regular craft work, you can use this to expand what you can do. So it's a really great tool. So I'm going to say it's one for Pro and also Joe as well. So final thoughts, obviously I recommend this sander. I think this is actually a really good sander. Despite the dust collection issues, it has held up pretty well. It's very easy to clean because as you can see here, it has so many holes that you can kind of blow out with a blower, but this is an awesome tool. This is definitely Tool Dude recommended. And I would recommend this for just about anyone who has any type of detail sanding work to do. Even if you're not, you know, a craftsman, this can have wide-ranging aspects, especially when you get into corners and areas that you just have to sand that you just, a normal sander can't quite reach. For 150 bucks, you can solve that problem. So if you're on the M12 platform, it's kind of a no-brainer if you really want to expand your abilities in terms of sanding. All right, well, that is it for this episode of Real Toolbox Reviews. Again, awesome product. Glad I could share it with you. If you do like the review, be sure to leave a comment below. But furthermore, if you can hit that subscribe button, I really appreciate it. We're trying to grow out this channel, and to the 60 or so of you that have done it so far, I really appreciate it. If you like what you're seeing, hit the like button as well. And any questions about this, as you can see from previous episodes, I'm definitely willing to interact. But that is all for this episode. As always, stay well, be kind to others, and until next time, we'll see you later.